this is basically preaching to the choir, I guess. But it's amazing how in our profession, piano teachers, this skill or this topic of improvising is kind of minimized and perhaps even neglected altogether. And of course, none of us have anything against literacy and being able to read the score and being able to discern the composer's intent. Those are great skills, but it seems to me that nowadays this idea of encouraging students to spend a few moments every day improvising is largely neglected, if not completely put to the back of the priority list. And I think it's important. In the 30-minute car ride coming here this morning, Arthur, Wynn Ann, and I had this huge conversation about how the 20th century in performance practice has become the century of being true to the text, doing exactly what's on the score, nothing more, nothing less. Of course, recordings contributed to that. The Urtext, the German concept, and many people forget that in the 19th century and prior to, all musicians were messy improvisers. Everybody, whether you were a performer, composer, you were always doing something spontaneous. Now, of course, that means that you have to have a language. You can't improvise without a language. If I were to go to an improv club in France, and I'm supposed to do a Def Jam in that club, I couldn't do it because I don't speak French. You have to speak a language. But all of us are learning languages. Those people are learning languages. You know how to do, I know you know how to do this. Oh, wow, that's so good. How about if I go, okay, I don't know what meter that was. Most of us don't think of meter when we're doing that kind of thing. But what if you said, we're going to do this again, we're going to do it in 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can you do that? Hey dude, I'm looking at you. You made a mistake making eye contact. Dude, okay, I want you to do what I just did. First, just this way. Okay, I'll count to 3 and then you come in. Ready? I'll go 1, 2, 3 and then you come in. 1, 2, 3. Now let's do the 3/4 version. 1, 2, 3. I'll count to 3 and you come in. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's try that. Ready? Let's do it again. Let's do it about 4 times.
He's already doing variants. I love it.
4 times in a row, okay? 4 times in a row, the same thing. Ready? I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now let's just do the 3/4 version. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's do it again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, beautiful. Okay, now we're playing in the sandbox. Can you do it up here? We're transposing it to, I guess, is that, Arthur, is that C sharp major or D flat major?
Yes.
Yes, okay, let's do it again, but very rhythmic. Okay, we'll do it 4 times in a row, the 3/4 version, in C sharp or D flat major. Right, I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we just did once. That's good. Okay, you good. Go sit down because I'm gonna taunt your other colleagues. Thank you. Get your peeps to send me a check. I mean, bill. Somehow. Okay, that was simple. It took like 5 minutes of our time, but what this does is it causes people. You have to think in terms of meter. You have to think in terms of what if. What if we took that same little 5-finger pattern and we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Can any of you count to 5? Okay, can you come up here and count to 5? Are you related to that guy? You're messing. Okay, so you get to sit there, and here's what you're going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Can you do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Can you try that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Beautiful. Let's do it a few times in a row. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Yes. Okay, so we made music in 5/4 with a 5-finger pattern in C major. Dude, okay, can you just maybe reduce the bill a little bit? I'm going to pay a family rate, okay? Tell your accountant to send me the bill, send me the receipt. Okay, good. Okay, well, I guess what I'm doing here, I guess this is relevant. We're improvising, but we're also coming up with certain skills each time we improvise. It's kind of like 2 6-year-olds playing in the sandbox. What if my Godzilla doll married your Barbie doll? And what would their children look like? Okay? Well, they had all the, switches. It's a little bit weird. It's basically it's a what if, and there's no limitation. But how long did that take? Do you know how long we spent on that? Was that like 3 minutes? 2 minutes?
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5 maximum. But my view is that that's a good use of time. It forces you to come up with ideas. You say, what if? Because this is like, this is what the creative process is all about. And we all, how many piano students that when you practice scales, they go, much better than I'm doing, without any sense of meter or texture. What if you did a scale and you had a specific meter and a specific rhythm? Okay. Okay, how about 7/8? Okay, how can you divide 7/8? Are any of you good at math?
I'm kind of good at math.
How?
I'm good at math.
Okay,
So am I.
how can I divide 7? I got to do 7 over and over and over again because it's 7. How would I divide it up?
So you just keep adding 7.
Well, but if I wanted to subdivide, I guess is the better word. Like I could go 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 because I've got to come up with some plan of organizing those 7 notes. They just can't be. I have to have some organization. So what do you think it should be? 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 or 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2?
I think you should do 6 and then 1 note.
1 2 3 4 5 6 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 1 2. Whoa, you're weird. What key do you want me to do it in? What key? What key?
I'll do C.
C? Come on, make it harder.
C sharp.
Oh, major or minor?
Minor. Major.
Okay, we're going to do the minor. What kind of minor? Melodic or harmonic?
Melodic.
Phrygian.
Okay, so it's going to be Phrygian. Phrygian. Actually, I don't know what the C sharp Phrygian minor is. We're going to do melodic minor, 6 plus 1. Da 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 da. Oh wait, that's 3 plus 3 plus 1.
Sixth one.
That was great. Okay, what if I did the same thing, but I'm going to do this hand in a tenth up, okay? In tenths, okay, in tenths. D da 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 da. Okay, in tenths. Okay, melodic minor, C sharp melodic minor. I don't know if you know what I did. I did do chords there at the end. And did you notice I modulated to D major? And you know what D major is in the context of C sharp minor, don't you tell me? Who knows what D major is in the key of C sharp minor? It's based on a city in Italy. It's the Neapolitan relationship. So I went to D major, and then I was in D major for a little while, but then I used that as a stepping stone to get back. Now, of course, this shows that I also know harmony. You can't really improvise. I can't go to a comedy club in Paris and entertain people if I don't speak French. But if you know a chord progression, you can start doing stuff with it. Like, how about this? Have any of you heard that before? That's a cadence. It's a one chord. It's like 3 voices here, a bass note here, like SAT, and B down here. Who can I get? Who's making eye contact with me? Gabriel. Okay, ven acá. Okay. Do you mind that I picked on you?
No.
Is your name Gabriel? Can you do this? Have you done that before? Yeah, let's see if you can do some of that. Like do the first 2 chords before you do the last 2 chords. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, how about now you go. So left hand. tell your peeps to send me a bill too. Okay? And okay, I don't know if you think this is valuable, but these are, and let's see if I'm running over time. Oh no, I'm still got time to mumble. You may say, well, why do I need to learn this? Why is that important? And the answer is I don't know. Can Janet, can you tell me why this is important? Or is it, I mean, of course, I know that you have a limited amount of time in your lessons. If you give a 30-minute lesson, you may not have time because you got to cover a lot of stuff. But my view is that maybe one 10-minute tutorial every 3 or 4 lessons devoted to this is worthwhile, and then the student can, in 5 minutes a day maximum, let's say 5 minutes maximum, do one little exercise like this. And each time you keep going further. And the more you know about harmony, the more you can take those harmonies like okay, how about in the key? Tell me a key. Someone tell me about a really difficult key.
B flat.
Or B flat?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, tell me I have to put my eyes closed. Another key, please.
C major.
What was it?
C major.
C?
Yeah.
I did C major already. Pick another key, like the hard key.
C minor.
E minor? Okay. I'm gonna put my eyes closed. How about now I do So what I did just now, I took a chord progression, I arpeggiated a little bit, and then I did a little doodad up here that fit the chords, and I did like 3 or 4 variations. That is a skill known as to preludize. Do you know that in German they have a verb, preludieren, which was very, that means to make a prelude. And that every musician, up until, well, all organists still can sort of preludieren. But why is it that most keyboard people, if you were to ask them to do something like that, they would go, what? But that's a skill that every musician, especially keyboard musicians, had to have. And basically, it's what all church musicians know. If there's a day where the offertory is going around and people are feeling generous, then the pastor's gonna go, keep playing, you know, because you want to keep people putting. So you have to be spontaneous and be able to do that. Oh, my favorite I told you about the Beethoven improvising in 1785. One time he was playing for a singer. He was 15, a guest singer in Bonn in 1785, and he started to give a little introduction. And his introduction went all over the map in terms of keys and chordal extrapolations, and the singer got lost. It was totally bamboozled. But that's a kind of, and then Beethoven had his hand slapped by the head pastor of the church because he was being a little too off the map. But this idea of preludieren is something I think we all should be able to do. Don't you think, Arthur, that we should be able to take a chord progression like that? I want somebody to give me, I'm going to come up with another chord progression. Oh, before I do that, how about Hannon? We all know Hannon. Okay, what if oh, here's a story. My grandmother, Mimi, once, I was 10, and she was babysitting me, and she was in the kitchen doing something, peeling some potatoes, and I decided I would do the hand exercise in 2 keys at once. And I remember she came into the living room where our little upright piano was. She said, "John, are you playing the right notes? It sounds like you're not playing the right notes." I said, "Yes, Mimi, those are the right notes." And I lied to her. I'm sorry, Mimi. What if you did two keys at the same time? I mean, those were two dissonant keys, a minor part. What if you did E flat in this key and C major in this key? That's bitonality. How about a little bit of rhythm? Alternating hands. Oh, this is going to be intense. Okay, quota erat demonstrandum. Do anybody in the back have any questions or comments? Or I would very much like to keep you engaged, and I know that's asking a lot, given who I am. Do you have? I mean, you all have certain things you can do that could lead to improvisation at the keyboard. Even if it's a beginning student who just knows how to use one finger and play one note. Oh, what about the fruits that teach rhythm? Okay. Strawberry. So we're going to do strawberry, strawberry, strawberry. Strawberry, strawberry, strawberry. How about what's that? What fruit is that?
Banana.
Banana.
How come you're all so smart? You think it's banana?
I think it's pineapple.
No. Pineapple is this. Pineapple, pineapple. So banana is. So banana. So here's my banana song. Banana, 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 please stop now. Pineapple. What was it? Pineapple?
Yeah. Pineapple.
Okay. Pineapple. Pineapple.
Okay, how about apricot?
Apricot. And then what was it? And then
Yeah, watermelon.
What was it?
I thought I heard a kiwi in there. I could have sworn there was a kiwi in there.
Kiwi. I'm afraid I'm having too much fun. I think it's time to quit. So I'm gonna quit.
Like you're playing on the bird, you're playing on the bird.
Is it okay if I quit now? Remember the Phil get your peeps to send me the bill, okay?
Send me $1,000.
It has to be, you have to put it in writing. Your peeps have to do it, okay? Gotta be official. Okay, gracias.